Sports City, chefs, Sports City, chefs. Yeah. Cabby, Taj.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Finger Foods with the Sports City Chefs. I'm your host, the villain, Barry Jordan. Thank you for listening to this video. If you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, comment, all that, so we can get more content in front of you and get more of this good cooking in your belly. The 2021 season for the New York Yankees came to an end the other night as they lost 6-2 to the Boston Red Sox in the wild card game. The Yankees finished off a season where there was a lot of expectations and they just didn't come through. The Yankees had an up and down season and played pretty much sub 500 for most of the season up until the All-Star break, got on a hot streak. But then faltered down the stretch, limping into the playoffs, and then finally getting beat at Fenway Park to their hated rivals, the Boston Red Sox. Listen, it's World Series or bust in New York, and, to not have a World Series in 12 years, made the playoffs for 5 straight years, and not have a World Series appearance to show for any of it is just unacceptable in New York. After the Yankees made it all the way to AL championship against the Houston Astros 5 years ago now. The Yankees have taken steps backwards. They haven't even gotten out of the wild card round. So this team is going in the wrong direction, and it's time for major changes. It's time for overhauls to go on here. The Yankees, like I said, were playing sub 500 ball for most of the season. And then trades at the deadline started to kind of reignite the Yankees, and they went on a really hot streak. They were 21-8 in August, but like I said, in September they were 15-12. Had some hot streaks, and then got some cold streaks. The Tampa Bay Rays came into town the last weekend of the series and really put a hurting on them. If not for that one hit, Aaron Judge infield single, the Yankees would have been out of the playoffs altogether. So the Yankees went 10-9 against their hated rivals, the Boston Red Sox. The team that won the World Series and beat the Yankees in the playoffs. Most of that outfield is gone, and still the Yankees can't beat that Red Sox team. So it's a lot. It's a lot of the same in New York, and like I said, changes are coming. Garrett Cole did not pitch well in the wild card game. He was not effective. Got into the third inning, didn't get out of the third inning. The headline's going to be the $324 million pitcher that we paid a lot of money to didn't come up big, and it's a fair assessment because no matter what you do in the regular season, you're defined in New York by your postseason play, as Alex Rodriguez. He had a really, on paper, a really good season. 16-8, 3.23 ERA, 243 strikeouts. But I mean, when you look down the stretch, Cole was pitching to a 5.13 ERA in September, and got shelled in his last start against the Blue Jays. So it's the eyeball test. He while he is a Cy Young candidate, it's hard for us to see him night in and night out and say he was the Cy Young award winner. Cole even came out and said he was sick to his stomach after his performance, and he expects better. We expect better from him. We're paying him a lot of money, so he's got to bounce back next year and really solidify his spot as the ace on this team and one of the better pitchers in the league. Listen, the budget Yankee experiment, like I noted on my blog piece on sportscitychefs.com, it didn't work. And for the most part, listen, the Yankees were being held to that luxury tax. Don't spend over $189 million. So they, instead of making a big splash in the off-season, they went the short route to shore up their, especially their starting rotation, which was a big question mark the year before. They brought in Jameson Taillon and Corey Kluber. Taillon, got off to a slow start coming back from his Tommy John surgery. He finished with an 8-6 record, a 4.3 ERA. But I mean, there was a stretch in July where he was lights out. He was 4-0 with a 1.16. He was pitching really well, and then an injury came, and the ankle injury, and he couldn't really get back to that form. Maybe you got something in the back of your rotation with him. I liked what I saw from him. But Corey Kluber, again, a 1-year flyer on a guy that's a former Cy Young Award winner, but I mean, did pitch a no hitter this year, but then Corey Kluber, went down with the injury and was never really the same and didn't get back into the rotation until really late in September. So another way that we just needed to shore up some things and we just didn't do it. We just didn't spend. The Yankees have the money to spend. I think the way that they're trying to win with analytics and kind of not shoring up the farm system, but really kind of using the Rays blueprint isn't working, and it's not going to work. We can't outray the Rays. They're an amazing organization. They traded away their pitchers, and they still got strong, and they're still the best team in the AL. We can't compete with them. We haven't been able to compete with them for the last 12 years. I would say probably 10 years. They're a better team. They're a better franchise than us. We have to do what we do best. We have to spend. There's a lot of free agents on the market, and that's where we need to go. I think having Luis Severino and Domingo Germán back for a full season is definitely going to be a big upgrade. So I don't see a lot of pitching that's going to be needed. But listen, this is a critical offseason for the New York Yankees. But there's three things that there's issues on the other side of the baseball and the hitting and the fielding that the Yankees need to address. And it's right up the middle, right? So let's start from the catcher position. What are they going to do at catcher? Gary Sanchez, he was the cornerstone of the franchise. When he came up, he was a Rookie of the Year candidate, mashing home runs, stellar arm behind the plate. But, his framing isn't as great. He's in the lower half of the starting catchers in the league as far as framing. He strikes out a lot. He's a sub 200 hitter, and his defense, blocking the ball has gotten better, but it's not as good as the backup Kyle Higashioka, who's a better defensive catcher. But he's not a good hitter as well. He's a 181 hitter at catcher as well. Gary Cole prefers throwing to him, but he doesn't hit. So there's not a lot of good catchers out in the market. You might have to, keep hanging on and keep hoping that Gary Sanchez turns the corner. But yeah, I don't know how many chances that you got to give him. So we'll see. But there isn't an option out there. And then you're talking about shortstop / second base. Gleyber Torres is not a shortstop. I love him. He's a good ball player. Listen, in 2019, he hit 38 home runs. He was almost an MVP candidate that year, and he was only 22 years old. Everybody thought that when they made that trade for Chapman to trade him to the Cubs and getting him back, that was the missing piece. And, he showed right away that he is that good. But then you're talking about, this year, the power's gone. It's diminished year after year. And defensively at shortstop for the last 2 seasons, he's been horrific. He's one of the highest rated errors at the shortstop position. I think Boone made the right call to move him to second base. Once he did, I think he kind of relaxed. The bat started to come alive. So I think that is your position, your second baseman. And there's nothing wrong with that. Especially with that almost defensiveless infield where, you're moving all over the place. It's fine. There's a lot of good shortstops out there in free agency. I think the Yankees need to bring one in. Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, left-handed bat, Javier Baez, Trevor Story, and Marcus Semien. He played second base, but he is a shortstop by trade, and he's having an MVP-like season as well. Either one of those guys need to be wearing pinstripes. The Yankees almost pulled the trigger on Trevor Story at the trade deadline and didn't pull that off. So, listen, LeMahieu had a down year. You hope he can bounce back after getting a nice contract. Gio Urshela struggled at third base, with injuries too. So I don't know where you're going to put LeMahieu, probably at third base, bring a shortstop in, put Gleyber Torres at second. If you bring Torres back, if you want to trade him, which I don't think you should do, he's too young. You can't trade a 25-year-old, and you have control. You gotta stick it out. I think he can get better. He's got to hustle though. The lack of hustle is really killing this kid. So, but it's hard to ship him out. Aaron Hicks is another guy at center field now. So I mean, 2 years where he's had injuries with the Tommy John surgery. I think he had the hip problem, the hamstrings. Listen, does everybody remember Aaron Hicks? Right? Sweet swinging switch hitter. That really plays an excellent center field defensively. But he's 32 years old, coming off surgery again. I mean, he's under contract. You might have to keep him and hope he can stay healthy, but that's like hope he can stay healthy. What happens? He gets hurt, and then you got to put Gardner in center field. There aren't many options in center field. Kevin Kiermaier is a contract that the Rays are trying to get rid of. Starling Marte is 33 years old. You might be able to get him, but another right-handed bat's not really what we need. But he is a great player. Joey Gallo under contract. He's not a center fielder, but I don't think he needs to be a Yankee. He just didn't perform for us. Too many strikeouts, didn't get on base enough, wasn't enough protection in that middle of the lineup. So I think you might have to move on for him. Maybe you trade Aaron Hicks, but it's most likely that Aaron Hicks is the starting center fielder once camp breaks next season. Gardner has a team option. I think you don't bring him back, but I think he will be back. I think he should be back because he is a good stopgap in the outfield. He's getting older. He's going to be 39 next year. Has a player option. Most likely has to exercise it to get back into pinstripes. So I don't see that as an issue. As far as the other question mark is Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo needs to come back. Um, there's rumors that he wants to go back to Chicago. He is 33, 34 years old. But he's a great defensive first baseman. He provided some leadership in the clubhouse, and he's kind of like that Don Mattingly presence that we had in the early run with the core four. I think Luke Voigt's time is over in New York. Injuries really kind of bogged him down this season. His defense is nowhere near as Anthony Rizzo's. He's another right-handed bat. Rizzo's a left-handed bat that actually hits well against lefties too. So he's perfect for Yankee Stadium and that short porch. I don't see Voigt coming back. I said they should have traded him coming into last season. Use him as a valuable trade piece to get a pitcher, get an arm. Now he has no trade value. Just got to let him go. But I think Rizzo is a guy you have to bring back in pinstripes. Aaron Judge, obviously he wants to be back. He wants to be a Yankee. He's 30 years old. I think the number for him is 140. He played 145 games this year. Hit 287, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs. Pay that man his money. Any way that you can figure out to get him here. I know he's going to be 30, and you don't really give long-term contracts to guys over 30, but you should have gave him a contract 3 years ago. So you got to sign him. But the Yankees have another offseason where they have a lot of issues to address and a lot of positions they have to fill. I think the bullpen is in solid shape. Another arm in there might be helpful. I think the rotation might be set. Maybe another starting rotation piece might be a nice add. Nestor Cortez is a guy that can really solidify the back end of that rotation. But I think the obvious areas to address are center field, shortstop, and they got to figure out what they want to do at catcher. Either give the guy a contract or let him go. But it's another off season, no championship, a lot of work to be done. It's not Cashman's fault. And to be honest with you, I don't know what you do with Aaron Boone. I don't know if the Aaron Boone experiments work. They wanted to bring in some guy that was more analytical. They wanted to move off of Joe Girardi. They didn't really. It hasn't worked. The experiment hasn't worked so far. I think, like I said, they've regressed every year. I don't know if it's Aaron Boone's fault. I think the players have to perform. The base running errors and all that kind of stuff this year just, exacerbated everything. But I don't know if it looks like they would want to bring in another analytical guy. So I don't know what the point is of moving off of Aaron Boone, if you're just going to manage off a notebook. So I expect him to come back and finish what he started. This team has to get better. They have to perform, and with the pieces that they have, but they also need reinforcements. It's time to start yanking. They need to be the Yankees, and it starts in this offseason, and the Yankees need to really kind of put their foothold back on this AL East division. So, thank you for listening. Finger Foods on the YouTube channel, exclusively on the YouTube channel for Sports City Chefs. Like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment. You'll get more content like this. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It's the Chefs again. If you don't know, now you know.
Sports City, chefs, chefs. Sports City, chefs, chefs. Yeah. Cabby, Taj.